Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look inside Space Empires 4X from GMT Games. It is designed by Jim Crone, and I talked about it in my earlier video, Talon, where I talked about how these two games can be combined together because they're in the same universe. So let's take a look at the back of the box. This is the third printing of the game. I had the game in the past, and I let it go because I was wanting to get a hold of the third edition, and that's what I've got here. It says, back of the box here says, Space Empires 4X is a game in the finest tradition of 4X space games. Explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate. This game is rich in theme. Carriers, fighters, mines, cloaking, dreadnoughts, merchant shipping, colonization, mining, terraforming, shipyards, black holes, war points, non-player aliens, doomsday machines, everything an epic space opera needs. Despite that, the rules are incredibly simple. Almost 20 years in the making, many elegant solutions have been developed to remove complexity and make the game intuitive. And this is the map here, and it's broken down into different player colors, so that way when you're playing a multiple player game you'll know exactly where your starting area is and you move around. It's set for 1 to 4 players. These are a good example, or a good look at your game counters here, and the map over there, which we've already talked about. And then over here, complexity is on the low end of medium, rated at a 4 and has a 9 solitaire rating, and it plays 1 to 4 players. 1 to 6 ships or squadrons are what each unit is composed of. It says the game comes with 1 mounted map, 4 counter sheets, 1 8.5 by 11 pad player aid sheets, 4 player reference cards, 2-sided, 16-page full-color rulebook, and 16-page full-color playbook, 4 10-sided dice. The biggest difficulty you're going to have with this game, it's a decent-sized box. The biggest difficulty you're going to have in this game is fitting everything in the box. There's so much in this game that it's going to be tough, and that's where maybe those expansions kind of come into play, not only because it adds the game and expands out some more goodness, but it gives you more boxes to store your stuff in. Take a look inside the box. You got your 4D10s, you've got your baggies, a rule book and scenario book. Get a sheet from Strategy First with a coupon to save a couple bucks if you want to get one of their games. A ship technology sheet, you get a pad of these that you'll keep track of all your information, and then there is more information on the back of the sheet here. This is your production sheet that you'll keep track of all your production. You've got your half counter sheet right here, and then we've got our 4 counter sheets, which we'll take a quick look at here. These are the counters in the game. You're going to have the different counters for each faction, and you're going to have all your, like I said, 1 to 6 ships per squadron, or what these all are going to represent. Depending on the scenario setup and everything else, you'll put these counters out, and then you'll move them around the map. There's your other 2 factions, and then you've, I just knocked out a couple. Then you've got different pieces of terrain that are going to be out there. Planets, black holes, warp points, things like that. And these are color-coded that will go into the different areas based on the color. And you're going to have a home planet as well for each faction. So that's how those work. And then we've got some more admin counters and some more ships over here to the right. And got our player reference cards, double-sided, and it explains to you your ship chart as well as your research chart, and 4 of those. And then we've got our map, and as you see, the map takes up a good bit of real estate in there because it's mounted, and it's a really nice mounted map. So let's take a look at that. We'll move this box in a lid, as Dan likes to always call it, out of the way, and we will take a look at this mounted map so you can see what you're getting. Now obviously this map needs to lay flat here for a little while to get itself all the kinks worked out of it, but let me see if I can move that down. That's as far as I can move it. Well, I'll turn it sideways so you can see. You're going to have up here your turn track, and then your economic phase sequence at the top of the board, and then each player is going to have their own starting area that they're going to work from there, and then they're going to try to build out and exploit and expand into other territories. The rule book and the playbook. The rule book is only 16 pages, not a very difficult rule book to get through. So pretty easy to sit down and read through it, maybe kind of read through it once and then sit down and try to play it. Or you can sit down like I do and start playing it and then figure it out later, or not figure it out later, but figure it out as you go. The rules start on page 3 and end on page 11, about a third of the way through the page. That's the basic rules. So that's how you jump in and get started. And then after you play a game or two with the basic rules, you know how it works. You can just throw in the advanced rules, which add in merchant ship pipelines, carriers, fighters, point defense, raiders, cloaking and scanners, mines and minesweepers, and then optional rules back here as well that will change things up. And you can add them in or not as you see fit. And then back here you have the rules of play, sequence of play, and then your technology charts. Everything's laid out for you here as well. Then the scenario book goes into, and the first thing is, I don't know if it's just me, but every time I see this playbook, the first thing that pops to mind is the sea view from Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. That's the first thing. Even though it's in space, that's the first thing I think of every time. But here you got your 2-player scenarios, and it shows you how you can set up your map, how you can block it off to play when you're playing a 2-player scenario. So you're not using the entire map. You're actually going to pretty much be in each other's face pretty quick. And then you can have a large 2-player map, a 3D map, 4-player scenarios, and then you can have epic scenarios for 2 to 8 players. If you want to bring 2 versions or 2 copies of the game together, you can play 8 players. And then you have your 1-player Doomsday Machine scenarios, so that way you can take on the Doomsday Machine. And you have the Alien Empire scenarios as well. Then and back here you've got designer notes, and then comprehensive example of combat. It's not illustrated, so that's one of those things that I'm always talking about, illustrated example of play, but still it's not difficult to grok. It would be nice to have an illustrated example of play, however, just because I like them. And then we have the Alien economic sheet back here, so you can make copies of that as well and be able to follow, or I should say keep track of everything that the aliens are doing in the game. And that is everything you get with Space Empires 4X from GMT Games, designed by Jim Crone. If you have not played it before, definitely recommend it. You can play it, like I said, solitaire or with up to 4. 8 players if you like to bring the pain and put 2 copies of the game together and really have a long gaming session. Definitely a lot of fun though. Worth getting it. The expansions, I have not gotten any of the expansions yet. That is something that I will look into doing in the future to expand this game out and add some more solitaire gameplay and different options to play at solitaire. But that's Space Empires 4X. If you have any questions or comments, post them down below. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. See you next time.